God, you can see us all.
Good morning and welcome to the Ordinary Council meeting of Wednesday 16 October, and we're starting at 9:15am. Opening of meeting. In the spirit of open, accessible and transparent government, Berrigan Shire Council's meetings are audio recorded. By speaking at a council meeting, members of the public agree to being recorded. Berrigan Shire Council accepts no liability for any defamatory, discriminatory or offensive remarks or gestures that are made during the course of the council meeting. Opinions expressed or statements made by individuals are the opinions or statements of those individuals and do not imply any form of endorsement by Berrigan Shire Council. Confidential matters of council will not be audio recorded. Recordings are protected by copyright and owned by Berrigan Shire Council. No part may be copied, recorded, reproduced or transmitted without the prior written consent of the CEO. Any recording is not and shall not be taken to be an official record of Berrigan Shire Council meetings or the discussion depicted therein. Only the official minutes may be relied upon as an official record of the meeting. An audio recording, actually I believe a video recording of the council meeting, will be taken for administrative and minute preparation purposes only and is provided to the public for viewing purposes to support council statutory obligations. Berrigan Shire Council acknowledges the traditional custodians of the lands on which we live and thrive. We pay our respects to their elders, past, present and emerging. The people of these great nations, their spirits and ancestors will always remain with our waterways and lands. Statement of ethical obligations. In accordance with section 233A of the LGA 1993, the Mayor and councillors are bound by the oath or affirmation of office made at the start of council term to undertake their civic duties in the best interests of the people at Berrigan Shire Council. They must faithfully and impartially carry out the functions, powers, authorities and discretions vested in them under the LGA 1993 or any other act to the best of their ability and judgment. Disclosures of interest. Pursuant to the provisions of the LGA 1993, the Berrigan Shire Council Code of Meeting Practice and the Berrigan Shire Code of Conduct, councillors are required to disclose and manage both pecuniary and non-pecuniary interests of any matter on the agenda for this meeting. In both cases, the nature of the interest must be disclosed. Okay, item 3.1, we have no apologies or leaves of absence. Item 3.2, do we have any applications for leaves of absence? No. Item 3.3, attendance via audio-visual link. We have none of those today. Item 4, we have a recommendation, but I believe that we didn't actually approve the minutes from the August council meeting. So can I add that to this recommendation, please? Okay. So the first one is that the minutes of the extraordinary council meeting held in the council chambers Wednesday 18 September 2024 be confirmed. Do I have a mover for that? Councillor Payne, a seconder.
Yep.
Councillor Natikoa. All in favour?
Yep.
Carried. Thank you. And the second recommendation is that the minutes of the ordinary council meeting held in the council chambers in August, can't remember this, do we have the date?
We do.
First week of August, 5th?
The 7th.
The 7th of August be confirmed. Do we have a mover?
Have to be the two that were actually here.
Yeah. Councillor Payne and Councillor Hannah second. All in favour? Thank you. Carried. Do we have any disclosure of interests at item 5? No? Excellent. All right. Item 6.1, we have a mayoral minute. And it's a recommendation from myself that council supports advocacy for a cross-border approach to securing dialysis services closer to home for residents of Moira and Berrigan Shires, including the possibility of both permanent and mobile services. We don't need a seconder. So does anyone have any questions or comments before we put that to a vote? Councillor Hannan?
Just, Councillor Hannan speaking. Just, what are the numbers around people that are accessing dialysis in Deniliquin, Shepparton at the moment?
We're still trying to work through that because of the cross-border issues. We don't have the exact numbers. So the plan is to meet with Moira. I've already had those preliminary chats with Murrumbidgee and then try to get some stats. But I know there's, for example, from Cobram, there's 13 people going to Shepparton and there's at least the same because we've got no seats in our shire heading to either Shep or Denny from here. Some are going to Yarra as well.
So are we supporting Moira Shire in advocating, or are we advocating ourselves?
We're looking to do it together.
Yeah, okay.
So they're advocating for 6 seats at Cobram Hospital. I don't know whether that will succeed, but the thing I like about the mobile service, the bus option, is that it could be moved around. So this week it's in Toke, and the people in Toke have it near home. People from Finley drive down. Next week it's in Finley. I think the optimal outcome would be no further than half an hour to travel for these people. So,
Especially when they were already compromised in their, you know,
Yeah.
resilience to actually get from A to B and
yeah, and there's with some genuine community interest in contributing funding towards this, which is really good. So
And MLHD were quite excited by the idea when we floated it past Jill the other day.
they really like the idea of a cross-border collaboration.
so the community funding is for the mobile option as opposed to the seats at Cobram?
That's what I was thinking, but nothing's formalised.
Yeah.
It's just to ask around, really. Any other questions or comments? No? All in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. Reports of committees, 7.1, we've got the Audit, Risk and Improvement Committee minutes. There's a recommendation that council note and receive the minutes of the Audit and Risk and Improvement Committee meetings of 28 August 2024 and 8 October 2024. Do we have a mover? Yep, councillor Healy, seconder. Councillor Brooker. Any questions or comments?
Just if I could again, sorry, Councillor Hannon, just, is it normal practice for 6 of our staff to be in those meetings for a couple of hours at a time?
No, not normally. At different times, though, there will be questions. I'm usually there,
Yep.
obviously, and sometimes, and Matt's normally there.
They come in and out as they're needed.
Yeah. Sometimes Jen will be there where finance is required, but yeah, it's usually just the two of us.
Okay, right, sweet.
So that's a fair point. So maybe in the minutes we should indicate when people come in and out.
We can pass that on to the chair.
Yep. Okay. Excellent. Thank you. All in favour of that recommendation? Against? Carried. Thank you. All right. 7.2 Local Traffic Committee minutes. The recommendation is that council adopt the following recommendations from the Local Traffic Committee meeting held on Thursday, 15 August. Firstly, that council approve the application made by BDDA to hold the annual Christmas night market on Friday, 6 December 2024 and temporary road closure of Chanter Street, Berrigan, between the hours of 5 p.m. and 11 p.m, subject to a road occupancy licence to be obtained from Transport New South Wales for the event. Secondly, that council approve the application made by Cobram Barooga Cycle Club to hold their 24-25 race permit event each Sunday from 10 a.m. for the next 12 months. And thirdly, that council note the review of speed zone for Murray Street, Tokemwall, reference number R4549 at comprehensive review stage. Do we have a mover?
Yep, I can move it.
Councillor Natikoa, seconder. Councillor Brooker. Any questions or comments? Items LTC3 is not indeed in the minutes.
I was about to ask that question.
And neither are the matters that are detailed, other items discussed in general business tonight. Actually, maybe we don't have the minutes, we just have other things, but not anything that reflects that third point.
Yeah, I was looking for that.
We will ensure we get the actual minutes of the meeting rather than just recommendations.
Okay, so can we move ahead with that third point without having seen those, or is it, can we just note it
Just say council note.
to note it?
Yeah.
Okay.
We can bring the minutes, we can send the minutes out.
So
later if that
what's the current speed zone and the recommended speed zone? Like, what's the difference?
I do
Sorry, I'm
know.
not from Toke, so I don't
Gary,
know
do
what
you
the
know?
current speed zone is of the Murray Street.
So, sorry, Gary George, Director of Infrastructure Council. The current speed zone in Murray Street, Tokemwall, is 60, and we're looking to reduce it to 40 under the proposal.
Okay.
And it's with Transport New South Wales to do an assessment at the moment.
So is that that's the street, like the road into Toke from
It's the
Finley?
main street,
Main Street.
The main street, okay.
Yeah. and it needs it.
Any other questions or comments? No, all in favour? Yep, against, carried, thank you. All right, we're up to 8.1, our local water utilities final report. And we'll look at 8.1 and 8.2 together because they both receive a note. So we only need one mover and one seconder. Do we have a mover? And I'll put your hands up at once. Councillor Stringer, seconder.
Yep.
Councillor Natikoa. All right, any questions or comments for 8.1 and 8.2?
I do have a couple. So with the plan, is it to recoup the money through the water rates or the CSO payment mechanism?
Sorry, which one?
8.1.
8.1, sorry.
So,
The, sorry. Sorry, I'm just going back to 8.1. So this is just, so when Mayor Julia Cornwell-McKean and I went to a joint select committee hearing regarding, so Sydney Water and Hunter Water were put into the Constitution of New South Wales that they can never be privatised,
Yep.
which left regional and rural areas with the possibility that that could happen. So we were among quite a few councils that made representations saying that if that were to happen in rural and regional areas, that leads to poorer outcomes for communities because we can scale up and scale down our water and sewer utilities according to the communities that they're in. So this report actually reflects that that wish that for us to remain locked away from privatisation. So that doesn't mean we can't enter into a joint arrangement with a private provider or that we can't do it under a joint organisation sort of provision, but it does mean that we can't privatise our water and sewer because then we don't have oh gosh, that was a bit weird. Then we don't have control over things like quality and price and all of that sort of thing. So we are trying to make sure that we keep them away from privatisation.
Yep.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
Sorry, that's what that report is about.
Yeah, and I just had one other question. So it was noted in there that there was a $1 billion safe and secure water program. So how much of that would likely the Berrigan Shire receive, or is there like a grant or hierarchical?
The Safe and Secure Water Program, I believe, is now finalised. We're in the last stages of that particular one. Now, we have said that that is essential for especially rural and remote communities to manage, because Safe and Secure Water is how we were able to pay for the Finley water treatment plant. So it's it's essential to that sort of. It is a competitive grant round though. So what we really want though is for it to say every rural and remote council probably needs assistance, and even if it's on a prioritised basis, that we should be able to access that funding without having to compete for it.
Yep. That's all I had.
Any other, Councillor Hannan?
If I could just have a question to the Director of Planning through the Mayor, if I could. Just around the DAs and the average assessment of 58 days, can you just explain to me that we had 6 development applications for the month of September? That, well, when I say 6, I say 2, 4, 7, 8. Is 58 days to assess those 8 development applications? Is that correct, or?
Now, the 58 days is over the or the existing applications, so you will have received them a month or 2 months before, and then within that month, that's how many we determined on that 58 days. I will say that we know we need to do better in regards to that assessment timeframe. The other thing the department's now tracking is applications received to when they're actually allocated to an officer before you actually start processing, and they've given orders that we need to reduce that timeframe down to 9 days, which we're working on as well.
Yeah, okay. Is that all due still ongoing issues with the portal, or the portal's?
The portal does still create problems, but we've dedicated in effect a resource where that we can assist people to upload documents and work through the process. Part of the other problem we have is obviously the current IT system of how we utilise it as well, because we don't actually have an internal system that talks to the portal. So we have a lot of uploading, downloading that does create additional time, but we're trying to gear ourselves up to make sure that we can manage applications and reduce timeframes.
And I suppose further to that, do we have a time frame for that to be implemented, or is that in progress?
It's in progress at the moment. Recently, we just appointed two what we've called technical officers. So that allows those officers to do what we'd classify as administration tasks, but also undertake assessments. So that now means that we have 3 people within the team can process applications, where previously we really only had 1 individual. So we're just trying to change things to allow us to reduce those timeframes. I will note as well, though, that with some applications, you're required to give, in effect, a referral, a concurrence. The timeframes that are or responses are received from those departments isn't great. That means that we can't make decisions until such time as they give us that response, though. So we are somewhat dependent on bigger applications on response timeframes, which does blow it out.
And sorry, just the last one. So then staffing is not an issue at the moment?
Not presently, but I will say that forever and a day, as a shire, we will struggle with attracting qualified staff, which is why we've moved the game to develop within and also assist them with getting relevant qualifications so they can deal with DAs.
Thank you.
Anything else? Okay, so all in favour of receiving and noting 8.1 and 8.2?
Yep.
Carried, thank you. 8.3 to 8.5 are all for information only, so any questions by exception?
I did have one for 8.3.
Yep.
So with this report, the RFS report, which is at 8.3, does the Shire need to pay the 82,000 to the RFS, or is there a grant process again to cover those funds?
No, we get to pay money. We will have a very large discussion about cost shifting in one of your induction processes, and there's a significant amount of money that we pay for a lot of things that really aren't our business, but that's one of them.
Okay.
Anyone else on those items? Okay, thank you. We'll move along to 8.6, which is the code of meeting practice. We do have a recommendation, though I foreshadow that we'll want to have a discussion about some of the matters in the meeting practice and dates and times and such. The recommendation is that Council adopt as a draft the Berrigan Shire Council Code of Meeting Practice as attached to this report, that we place on public exhibition the draft Code of Meeting Practice with feedback to be presented along with a finalised draft document at the December Ordinary Council meeting for adoption, that we fix a schedule for ordinary meetings of Council for the remainder of 24 and for 25, and there's a list of dates and times there, I won't read them all. And that we fix the schedule for ordinary meetings of Council for the remainder of 24 and 25 as follows. 1 being opening a meeting, 2 acknowledgement of country, 3 apologies and application for leave of absence or attendance via audio-visual link, 4 confirmation of previous minutes, 5 disclosure of interest, 6 mayoral minutes, 7 reports of committees, 8 reports to Council, 9 notice of motion, questions with notice, 10 confidential matters, 11 motions without notice, questions without notice, 12 councillor reports and 13 conclusion. Do we have a mover? Yep. Councillor Natikoa. Councillor Brooker seconding. All right. Where shall we start?
At the beginning?
Perhaps with the code of meeting practice, any feedback that people might have in relation to that?
So,
We've got
if I,
a number of items from 1 to 27 here.
yeah, so if I could, these are consistent with the Code of Meeting Practice as it stands now, other than one item, which is item 20 there, which is include clause 15.14 and not include clause 15.15. We included both in the current Code of Meeting Practice we have. However, you're only allowed to include one. One of them gives the mayor the power, or the chair of the meeting, which is normally the mayor, the power to remove disorderly people from a meeting, including councillors. That's 15.14. 15.15 says that the mayor can remove disorderly people from the meeting other than councillors. That needs to be done by a resolution of the council. So in one, you're delegating the chair of the meeting the power to remove a councillor from the meeting if she deems that they're disorderly and need to be removed. You don't have to. You can go to 1515 where that requires a resolution of council. Other than that, it's the same code of meeting practice you've got now.
Okay. Any questions or comments?
I've got a question. So, are you saying that the previous code of conduct for the meetings was what the previous council
What the previous
used?
council used.
Just when I was going through it, there was a lot of exclude includes and
Yep.
with no explanation for why we would do that. And I was just curious about whether that was something from state level across many councils or,
So we're working, it's an excellent question, Councillor Healy, because it is a bit confusing when you don't see it. So the Code of Meeting Practice uses a template that's been sent down to us by the Office of Local
Yeah.
Government. It's intended to apply to pretty much all councils in New South Wales, as well as joint organisations
Yep.
and county councils. So what that means is to try and stay consistent with the numbering that is used in the model. Where we haven't adopted one, we write that we haven't adopted it so that it flows
sure,
from eight, let's say we're talking about 1515, it's the same 1515 used across the state. Whereas if
Yeah.
we just showed it and didn't show that was missing,
yeah.
we'd be then on 1512, whereas the model code would say 1515.
No, I appreciate that, thank you. And I guess it was a little bit around why we might exclude something. So, for example, there was the point around the meeting time limits, I think it was, and I was just a bit curious about why we would change or not include that, if that would perhaps,
So you can include it. The
Yeah.
reason we didn't is because the previous council hasn't. What it means though, you can, if you choose, go to section 18 and add a time limit to your meeting and say, well, if the meeting goes any longer than 4 hours, it's a strict guillotine. We're off. Some councils do, especially those councils who meet in the evenings. What it does mean though is you've got any business that still needs doing at the end of the meeting, you
It's held
can't,
over.
it's done. So,
But it also does hold you to some
Yeah.
sort of account, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Because people can
and again, yep.
take the microphone for lengths of time if
or
they
just
feel.
make them efficient as well. We know,
Absolutely. So clause, the model code of meeting practice was also included with your attachments.
Yeah.
So the clauses there are to put a time limit on your meetings certainly can be picked up and put in the code of meeting practice if you choose. What you see in front of me is staff's recommendation, but this is your code of meeting practice. It's for you to
Yeah.
determine what you would like in it, not for
Our recommendation based on what's gone
previous
previously.
practice. That's
Previously.
correct.
Any other questions or comments?
Yeah, I have.
Councillor
Just
Hannan?
around the, I probably understand that there's not a lot of appetite to change the ordinary meeting time, but we in the past have changed the workshop to an evening or an afternoon.
Can we
session.
just hold that thought, Councillor
Sorry.
Hannan, so we can finish off with the code of meeting
Yeah,
practice
righto, yeah.
first? Sorry, I'll come back to you because I think there's a few people who want to jump on that one as well.
Yeah, fair enough.
Anyone else on the code of meeting practice?
Mine was just on point 2. The note there says that it's a minimum of 7 days, but then in the draft it says 7 business days. So just ascertaining, is it 7 business days, is it 5 business days, or 7 days?
It's good pickup. It should be 5 business days, 7 actual
Or 7 days.
days.
Yep,
So
okay,
we'll
thank you.
confirm that, but yes, the idea is 7 days, 1 week.
Yep.
5 business days is plenty.
I have a few comments. Point 8, which deals with a clause at 5.24, will require subsequent amendments to various clauses from 5.16 to 5.30 in order to align. There's some rewording that would need to be done, otherwise they're not all quite right. And item 9, which is not include section 7, I think we did include that last time. This is a new one, which is the modes of address.
Can check that.
No, I think we didn't want the formal ones last time, so we didn't adopt the formal
Nope.
ones. Yeah.
I can check the code as we have it now.
Yep.
But-
But in any event,
You'd
whether
like-
we do or we don't, I don't want to be called Madam Mayor, so that's kind of rude, or Madam Chairperson, so that's fine. But how would we like our council laws to be addressed? Would we prefer to be Councillor Natikoa, Councillor Katie, or what is our preference?
Well, I was wondering about this one as well. So, one of the things that strengths that I'll bring, maybe annoyances at times, is that I get into the detail. So I did look at all of these points, but just in regards to, keeping the reference to Councillor Healy, given that we are, it's not only an aspect of formality, but also living in small rural communities, it keeps some nice boundaries between when we're sitting within council and when we're not as well. Yeah, so the preferences.
Does everyone agree with that? Do we actually need to put it in the code?
We can, absolutely. So we can add that as well. In terms of, there's a section there for staff. I don't know if the CEO's got any points there.
I will say the changes that are coming to the Code of Meeting Practice may make them far more formal, so I have no control over that.
Yep. So would you like us to stick with job roles as we have in the past? So Director Corporate Services, Deputy CEO and such?
I'm happy for us to be,
Okay.
just our names will be fine. I think that's fine. I don't really want to be Mrs. Ewer, but, Karina's fine, I think.
Okay. And Councillor Healy's point about, which is listed at 26, which is around section 18 and time limits on meetings, I think we should aim for that. But given that we are early in the council, it might be best to omit it for now, but add that at a future time. Only because my experience, and Councillor Hannan and Councillor Payne may also add, that our first council meetings can go for a lot longer than the ones as we get quicker and know what's going on.
And especially when you've got so much to actually go through for a lot of new councillors at once.
Yeah. Having said that, I'm very happy to try and get it done as quickly as possible, and I would like there to be I don't like open-ended meetings. That's just me. But
So, in terms of an amendment to the draft here, are we including 18 now, or are we going to hold fire on it and come back?
my view is hold fire, but I'd like to hear what others think.
I think we certainly need to try and aim to reduce the timing, but given that there is going to be 5 new councillors.
Through you, Meg, could we put in something that says we've got a time, however, by exception, we could extend with a motion of council? Would that be acceptable?
I would need to take that on notice.
Just a question.
Again, there is no hurry to adopt a code of meeting practice. You don't need to even adopt one as a draft to put it out. If you'd like to just suggest amendments, and we can come back with another model code for you to consider at a future meeting, that's fine too. You don't need to adopt something today.
Okay.
It's brought forward today to give you as early an opportunity to look at your code of meeting practice as you want. Until then, though, you'll be working off the old model code that was adopted at the last meeting. You've got 12 months to adopt your new code.
What do we think about bringing this back to December?
So bring it back to November if you like.
Yeah, I think so.
November?
Yeah.
November with those changes that we've suggested. Is everyone happy with that? Okay, as our mover and seconder, happy with that.
So
There'll be an amendment to the...
no, I think if I could, Mayor Julie, to recommend that motion that's currently in front of the council lapses, and that someone might move a new motion to say that the CEO will bring a revised code of meeting practice to the November meeting.
Yep, I'll move that.
And so Natikoa, seconder. Councillor Brooker. That's with leaving intact for the moment 3 and 4 of the existing. Are you happy with that? Okay. All right, moving to the meeting times. Councillor Hannan, sorry.
Oh, sorry.
I was just going to do it all
Yeah,
together. Is that
sorry.
all right? Yep.
Yep.
Happy for anybody else to have a comment first, and then but does anybody else want to?
Anyone else got a view about the meeting times?
Should I respond about the workshop things?
Go ahead.
Okay, so one of the things that Minister Honig is absolutely adamant about, is that there will be no workshops or pre-briefings. He's very concerned that councils make decisions at those sorts of meetings. We've already moved to a very different format, which would be more presentations and discussions, so much more like professional development sessions. So those would then be professional development sessions, I suppose, where we would be talking about some of the biggest strategy issues that are happening, like the growth in Tokemwal, and how we might, as a team, work through those. So we won't be holding workshops into the future anyway, because we can't, but we could have those meetings that you had booked for the first Wednesdays. We would have them as professional development sessions, and they could, I don't mind if they're the evening, but they would not be open to the community anyway. Either way, they're not open to, because they're your training sessions, I guess. Yep.
Okay, so starting with those, when would people like them? We had them at 5 o'clock during the last year.
My preference is any time after 4 o'clock, really, just to help with childcare and managing my work outside of council workload. My preference is to have them in the afternoon, evening.
Others?
Yep.
Yep. All right, so if we do the workshops, I'd quite like us, because they're not public, to rotate them around the towns so that we get seen in places. We can work out where in due course. And they're not open to the public, so that's,
We'll just hold them
No
at the
problem.
libraries if you want.
yep. Okay, excellent. And, you know, even in the winter, online if people don't want to be travelling.
Well, that's true, yeah,
Yep.
if we don't, yeah, once it gets dark.
Yep. So moving to the council meeting times, proposed in the paper is retaining 9 a.m. on the third Wednesday, excepting for our December meeting, if 2024. Anyone got any views about the council meeting times and whether we'd like to move them to a different time?
Again, my preference would be in the afternoons, but I'm flexible from that perspective.
It is interesting that I think us and Murrumbidgee are probably the only two councils within Kuwee that do meet during the day. Highlighting that we have a casual vacancy here. That may be one of the reasons why we have a casual vacancy. So I think that, and noting that managers do get paid overtime if they do have to attend, but generally it's only the executive, and that is part of their package. So, look, I would be quite comfortable to move it to 4 o'clock in the afternoon, 4:30.
You could alternate them to trial.
I mean, people, and we're going to visual
Yeah.
link, other than maybe Catherine's mother and maybe your mother and maybe a couple others might have time to watch it during the day, but in the evening there might be other people that do get the opportunity to actually dial in and see how council does operate and understand the
Yep.
professionalism that is displayed around the council table, and it may well encourage people to stand for council, because there is a concern for me about people not wanting to stand for council.
And I think part of that is because it is during the day and people have jobs or responsibilities during the day, and it's easier at night to deal with kids or that sort of thing, so.
Would we propose to start this in January?
Yeah,
Any other
Believe.
views? Anyone not want to do the evening or afternoon?
Yeah.
Councillor Stringer?
I'm happy with the way it is.
You happy with the mornings?
Yeah, it certainly works for me being during the day.
Yeah.
However, I'm happy to trial what it could be like if it was because I also don't know how long the meetings tend to go for. And it does then
Yeah.
impact childcare for me outside.
Well, I would say if it starts at 4:30, we finish by 7:30.
Right.
That's what I would want
at the
to-
latest.
At the latest.
Yep.
Try
Can
and
it
make it.
finish by 7:30 though?
Well, most of our council meetings, if we started them at 9:15, would be finished by lunchtime, so
Lunchtime.
that would be within the
Yeah.
normal range, I would think.
And we've got quicker and quicker and quicker.
Mm.
Yeah. How about we do
I'll-
alternate?
Well, we can alternate. I propose that we wouldn't do anything until after the new year,
Yeah.
but, yeah, I think it just does give us an opportunity to expose what council looks like more than what it has been in the past.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think we do need to recognise that council laws don't get recompensed a lot, and taking a whole day out can be substantial in terms of loss of leave or loss of
I'd be
work.
willing to do it if there was a time limit to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't want to be driving back to Tocumwell at 10 o'clock at night,
No,
dodging roos and.
No.
Yeah.
No.
So perhaps if we were to say, I'm just looking roughly, so we're not, you know, we might have June, July in the mornings because we don't want to be, so 9 and 9. We do say January at 4:30, March at 4:30, May at 4:30.
Even just say the winter months during the day.
Yeah. June, July, August.
Yep.
9
Yeah.
a.m. And then September, October perhaps. And then that December one, can we make that a week earlier? Because I don't want to still be working on the 17th of December. I know it's more than a year away, but.
No, well, we often change them, so happy for.
Because I think that's the 4th of December is the last council meeting
Yeah.
this year, so.
Yeah. And we could maybe do that in the morning, because we can do that with the professional development.
Yep.
All right, anybody capture what I just said?
Bits and pieces, so workshops
Yep,
in quotations.
Yep.
At the PM, rotate around towns.
yep,
Council meetings proposed to start at 4:30.
There's various dates, I believe.
And then if we go up here,
yep.
oh, I'm over it now.
But January,
9 o'clock until
Yep.
December, 1 o'clock for the December meeting, 4:30 from January till May. And then June, July, August, 9 a.m. for the winter months, 4:30 for September, and then we'll change this December date. And that will be a morning session in December.
do we want to alternate that? So February we go back to 9, March 4:30, April back to 9, just so we do the alternate
We can at least.
And we
trial
can
it, and if
change it.
works, Yep.
anyway, if we're doing it by resolution. Make sure everyone knows what we've agreed to. And then we'll see how we go after that. There'll be ample opportunity to work out what's going on. Is everyone happy with that as an approach for now?
Yep.
We'll need that in our diaries. All right, and our mover and seconder, are you happy?
Yep.
All right, bit of negotiation there. And any questions about the schedule of ordinary meetings and the order of the agenda?
I just had a question about why the closed section is in the middle of the meeting. Is that, because that's, when I observed a meeting, it was a bit awkward because then it was closed and then I assume it was open again after that, but you wouldn't know how long it's going to be closed for or, so I was just curious about why it's in the middle.
After I then announce what we did during the closed section, and then we go into the other business. I think it's just
Okay.
custom, to be honest.
Is it?
I think the intent is to have, it's generally the last item that's actually on your agenda per se. So it's the last actual reports you get. After that, though, you've got your motions without notice and questions without notice and your council reports, which tend to be a bit more free-flowing. And the reason they're last, I guess, is if you have them any earlier, what tends to happen is they tend to chew up a lot of your meeting time. Because everyone wants to have their little unstructured discussion about what's going on. Whereas if you have it at the end, everyone's pretty focused on, well, we've got through all the business of the meeting, now we all need to finish up. But again, the beauty about having this by resolution, Councillor Healy, through you, Mayor, is that you can change it if you find it's not working for you. But that's the reason why, is to bring
Yeah,
all
great,
those things
thank
to
you.
the end of the meeting,
Thank
so
you.
that they don't drag on.
Okay. All right, so I think we've got our motion. And now we've got,
So the motion is item 1 and 2 have been replaced.
yep, and we substitute dates and times for 3 and 4 is as stands. So all in favour?
Yep.
Carried. Excellent, thank you. 8.7, council or expenses and facilities. The recommendation is that council adopt as a draft the council or expenses and facilities policy attached as an appendix and place the draft on public exhibition for a period of 28 days with any public submissions received to be considered at the ordinary council meeting, which should be held on 4 December, not 11 December.
Does say.
Yep. Do we have a mover? Councillor Stringer, seconder.
Yep.
Councillor Natikoa, any questions or comments?
Again, this is very similar to the current policy, other than some tidying up to be very clear about the facilities that you are being provided now. So you're not getting tablets now, you get laptops. So instead of offering the choice, it's confirming that. There's been some adjustments to daily limits and caps just to keep up with inflation. Other than that, I think the councillors, through you, Mayor, need to be clear that if it's not in a policy, staff can't pay it. So if there's something we are missing or something that's not in here that you think is something that's an out-of-pocket for you, now is your time to bring it in. The other thing I would add too is we can't pay general allowances. So while it'd be much more convenient for all of us just to pay you a motor vehicle allowance and a phone allowance, we are not allowed to do that. The only thing we're allowed to recompense is actual out-of-pocket expenses. So, but this is your chance to make sure that anything you feel needs covering is in there. In particular, those of you who have carer obligations, now's your time to make sure this adequately reflects what you need in terms of care.
Any questions or comments? No? All right. All in favour? Yep. Excellent. Carried. Thank you.
So that will now go on exhibition.
That will be on exhibition. We'll see it again on the 4th of December. Very good. 8.8, confirmation of designated persons. The recommendation is that council formally identify the following positions and occupants as designated persons as defined in the Berrigan Shire Council Code of Conduct. Do I need to read all these out? No. So these vary from the CEO through to the Audit, Risk and Improvement Committee members. Do we have a mover? Councillor Payne, seconder. Councillor Hannan, any questions or comments? No? All in favour?
Yep.
Excellent. Thank you. Carried. 8.9, Code of Conduct and Procedures for the Administration of the Code of Conduct. The recommendation is council adopt the Berrigan Shire Council Code of Conduct attached as Appendix 1 to this report and the procedures for the administration of the Code of Conduct as issued by the Office of Local Government without amendment.
So they should be two separate points. The formatting's playing up on me there.
Oh, I see. And point
So
two.
point two is the procedures.
Okay.
So you're adopting a model code of conduct. You're adopting a code of conduct which has been amended for use by council, but the procedures, you're adopting the model code.
Okay. Cool. Do we have a mover? Councillor Hannan, seconder. Councillor Brooker, any questions or comments? No? All right. All in favour?
Yep.
Excellent. Carried. Thank you. 8.10, we have Mayoral Alliance for the Pacific. The recommendation is that council support the Mayoral Alliance for the Pacific initiative by providing advocacy support to the cause. Do we have a mover?
Yep.
Councillor Natikoa, second to Councillor Payne. Did you want to speak to this, CEO?
I was approached by Leeton Council, obviously, because they are already experiencing some of these issues. We are expecting with Mowbray Farms about 500 workers to come in, not next year, the year after, I believe, is their first pick. And the Leeton experience suggests that people are exploited. Sometimes they don't have any supports provided to them, religious, medical, all of those sorts of things. We certainly have anecdotal evidence that some of the people that are working for JB Swift at the moment have, for instance, most of their tax is taken up by the person who's doing their tax returns. So that's what I mean by some exploitation. So the people can abscond because they feel they're not supported, but that means that they then have no support in the community for medical insurance, any of those sorts of things. So I think if we know that this is coming and we're already part of this alliance, then at least we can make sure that the people who are coming have got those supports. And I think that's important for both our community and the community that they will create. So I think it's worthwhile for us. It's advocacy. It's just making sure that those supports are there when these people arrive.
Any questions or comments? No? All in favour?
Yep.
Against? Thank you, carried. All right. 8.11, corporate workshop dates and outline. The recommendation is that council nominate 6 and 7 of November 2024 as the dates for the corporate workshop to be held at Berrigan, and note the draft program for the workshop as set out in this report. Do we have a mover? Councillor Payne, seconder?
Yep.
Councillor Stringer? Any questions or comments?
Obviously, we did discuss, or I did bring it up about reducing it to the 1 day, but obviously it seems that we can't. But however, is there flexibility to come in and out of that? Because as I said in the past, at corporate workshops, they usually only go for a day and a half at best when we're away, because we're usually on the road by 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon and take away lunch and morning teas and afternoon teas. Is there just some flexibility to come in and out of either of the days?
CEO?
I would say perhaps it's not necessarily compulsory. However, the discussions that we're having, some of them are pretty important, particularly the growth in Tocumwal and Barooga, because we really do need to get on top of that really quickly. Otherwise, we're going to have to halt development. You know, that's actually where we're sitting at the moment, and I really would prefer not to get to there. And the other stuff is a lot of our strategic goals and making sure that we understand what this council as a group want to deliver in their 4-year term. So if any of that, you know, for me, the discussions are important. However, I understand that people have actual commitments and there may be times when they can't attend, but then if there are some directions we decide on, that makes it a bit difficult. And we do really want to be able to start setting next year's budget from these discussions, I suppose, so we can bring you some what that looks like to, you know, if we do all of these things, this is what that will look like for our budget and for our delivery. So
just a further precursor, so we'll hold it in this room?
Yes, I think that would be a good spot.
So therefore we will be able to stream in if we can, is that possible?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, sweet,
Yep.
okay, cool, no, that's all right, thank you.
Is there a possibility of moving it to the Thursday, Friday instead of the Wednesday, Thursday?
No, because we have to be at Ramjo in Hay on the Friday.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, that's why I'm like, throw it out there. But no, that's fine.
Any other comments? All right, we'll put that to the vote. All in favour?
Yep.
Thank you, carried. All right. 8.12, CEO annual leave request. The recommendations that we approve the CEO's request for annual leave to the period 25 November to 6 December inclusive, and during this period, Deputy CEO Matt Hanson will act in the position of CEO. Do we have a mover? Councillor Stringer, seconder, Councillor Natikoa. Any questions or comments? Well-deserved leave.
Have fun.
Oh, believe me, we are a very large family and it's very noisy.
All in favour?
Yeah.
Thank you, carried. 8.13, actions from previous meetings. This is to receive and note this report. Do we have a mover?
Yeah.
Councillor Natikoa, seconder? Sure. Councillor Healy? All right, any questions? I have a few. All right. On page 66 of our pack, the resolution, the first one, 107-2022, hasn't been updated since July. So wondering if we know what's going on with that.
We can't form a lease until such time as we have a plan of management. The plan of management has been drafted. It's been sent to the Crown Lands,
Yep.
New South Wales.
Yep.
They need to let us know if they endorse it for public exhibition,
Yep.
which they've now had it for 6 weeks and I haven't had a word back. I need to follow up.
Yep.
Once it's been endorsed for public exhibition, it'll go on public exhibition for 28 days. Then it'll come back to this meeting for formal adoption. Then the lease that we have can actually be brought to council for signing.
The rules are convoluted, are they not?
Because it's Crown land, we can't have a lease that alienates parts of Crown land unless we have a plan of management which allows for that to happen. The draft plans do, but they're still draft.
All right, so page 71 of our pack, which is OCM 030-24, relate to units to be constructed at 47 Lewis Crescent. There's no update there since July that I can see. Do we have anything more on that?
Through you, Mayor, presently preparing a tender document on the basis that we're seeking to do design and construct. It needs to be quite detailed about exactly what we're expecting from the buildings. Hopefully completing the tender shortly, and then we would go out through as part of the process and see if anybody applies.
Excellent, thank you. Page 74 of our pack, OCM 113-24. It's the request from Finley Log Cabin Museum and Mary Lawson Wayside Rest Committee Management who wish to be incorporated. It's been reassigned, but nothing appears to have been changed since July. Do we have an update on that one?
Yep, through you, Mayor. Can everyone hear me?
Yes?
Yep. Or do you want to take it, Fletch?
That's all right.
Andrew? So we had a meeting with the committee who has transitioned into, or is in the process of transitioning into an incorporated entity. There is a lot of work to be done in that process to enable that to happen. Once I did bring a report on this a few months ago, getting the council's endorsement essentially to support that. But a little bit like the plans of management, there needs to be some plans done and some items moved to the incorporated entity to allow that to happen. So we're working on that in the background.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have. Anyone else?
Just that there was a couple of duplications. Item 167 /24 and 168 /24 were duplicated in it. So
Yep, sorry, that is our beautiful system that sometimes doesn't know what's going on. So it's better than it was, but it's, it does do those things to us every now and then.
All right, thank you. So all in favour of noting and receiving?
Yep.
Thank you, carried. All right. Delegations. 8.14. The recommendation is that council adopt the delegations to the mayor as set out in the delegation schedule provided as an appendix to this report. Adopt the delegation to the chief executive as set out in the delegation schedule provided as appendix 2 of this report. And then we've got some values for some delegations to be determined. Do we have a recommendation on those? We do.
So the delegations would normally be like $250,000 for delegation 2, 20,000 for delegation 11. I've just wanted to make sure that those are okay for council.
Yep.
20,000 for delegation 24, 10 for 25. Sorry, they're in there,
Yep.
and $50 for 97.
Okay. All right, so that's what we currently have. So do I have a mover with those numbers for those delegations in that recommendation?
Yep.
Councillor Natikoa, seconder. Councillor Payne. Any questions or comments? I think they still remain fit for purpose.
Perfect.
So we'll put that to the vote. All in favour? Yep. Thank you. Carried. $8.15. We'll try and go to $10.15 if we can. 8.15, we've got an exemption from a procurement process authorisation request. The recommendation is that council endorse the request for exemption from council's procurement process to engage Curry PM to finalise the, can you explain
The
acronym?
disaster relief financial assistance grant and the
Oh, here it is, Regional
Regional
Emergency
Emergency
Road Repair Fund. project delivery directly instead of through the Edward River Service Level Agreement, and direct the Mayor to sign the exemption from the procurement process authorisation as presented. Do we have a mover? Glenn Natikoa, seconder? Seconder? Councillor Payne? Okay. Director Corporate Affairs, you've got your hand up?
Apologies, I just had to let everyone know that I need to leave the meeting at 10:15 and then I'll be in the office around 11:15.
Okay, thank you. Any questions or comments in relation to this exemption request? I'll just mention, because I will say something different, well, the same really, later, is that it's best practice that any exemptions are sought before proceeding with a procurement process, which is what has occurred in this instance. It's not great governance to do it after you've already got quotes and such, so.
So this was really to save us 5% on the premium.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's a strong case, so any questions? No? Okay, all in favour? Thank you, carried. 8:16. Developer concession, Ray Brooks Investments Development Projects. The recommendation is that council inform the applicant it is unable to extend the developer concession to the properties as requested, as the application did not meet their obligations and implying by the due date for the 23-24 financial year. Do we have a mover?
Yep.
Councillor Natikoa, seconder. Councillor Brooker. Do you want to speak to this one, CEO?
I don't know that there's much to say, just that I did receive an email obviously asking if it was still available. It is still in our policy. We do intend removing it into the future. We just haven't brought that policy to council. We will ask you to do that. You could always say that, yeah, I guess it's earlier for the March, the 24-25 financial year. So you could do that forward going if you wanted to, but that's up to you as council.
Any questions or comments?
If you don't mind, CEO. The reason why we have the time limit is to allow us to actually manage our budgets. If we don't have it before that date, then when we actually strike the rate, we're striking a rate that includes, for water, this is, our water and sewer, we're striking a charge for water and sewer that assumes we're going to get revenue from those properties as opposed to not.
I think,
This is for the 23-24 financial year that they're referring to.
This is the 24-20, they're asking for the 20.
No, they asked for 23-24, so that's this financial year, current financial year.
This year's
this year's
24-25.
Oh, there's 24-25, sorry.
They're
That is,
asking for this year for 24-25, so we
Sorry,
would have to go back and do a credit supplementary levy
Yep.
to make that happen.
that's me.
So ultimately, by, is it May or March next year, March 25, you'd be applying for the 25-26?
That's correct.
Okay. Yeah, I was just a little confused with the
Sorry,
dating
I've
in there.
confused everybody because I was confused, so I've put the wrong dates
So
in
that
there.
doesn't then stop them from applying again next year within the correct timeframe?
That's correct.
Absolutely, provided that it's still in your statement of revenue policy.
yeah, and I think the nature of the email was there's this thing, so I don't think there's actually an expectation. But I think though, if we were to say to the applicant that, subject to council maintaining that policy, would you like us to carry this forward for an application in May? That might be to be considered at the June meeting. Is that something we could do?
Oh, Tanya's got a hand up.
Just if I could, in highlight of reviewing that policy and the workshop that we're going to have around the potential growth in our communities, I think we need to be extremely careful moving forward with that policy. Otherwise, you know, you've made some comments around our budget position and you've asked your managers to go away and your directors to find some savings. Well, we just need to be mindful of the position.
Yeah.
And I think we should be open in saying that to the applicant.
Yeah.
Director, Corporate Services?
Through you, Mayor, I was just going to comment around that as Councillor Hannon just said. In future, we will be bringing the policy with this removed. In the past, and Matt might be able to correct me if I'm wrong here, but in the past, this clause was included in the policy to encourage development within the council area. We're not really in that position anymore. And the issue with allowing people to have discounted rates is that it doesn't really give them, I suppose, momentum to sell their blocks once they're developed. If they're not really paying a lot of rates on them, it means they can hold the blocks for a longer period of time. Whereas if we don't allow them any concessions, it encourages them to sell their blocks within a reasonable time frame as well.
Okay. Or perhaps mention that maybe we'll rescind the policy at some point. Any other questions or comments? Okay, all in favour? For, against, carried. All right, we will have morning tea. We're moving along very well, so let's come back at 10:30.
Doing quite well.
Are we off?
You have to re-tap your button again too, don't you?
And we're good? Okay, thank you. We're now on item 8.17, being section 355 Committees of Management. The recommendation is to A, revoke existing members of the section 355 Committees of Management listed below, and pursuant to section 355 of the Local Government Act, appoint the persons defined in this report to the section 355 committee. I think that A needs to be changed to say listed below because we're not revoking all. Yep. Do we have a mover? Yep. Councillor Stringer, seconder Councillor Payne. Any questions or comments on this one?
Just a comment.
Councillor Payne? Oh, wrong Renee. Councillor Brooker. I'll get it right. Councillor Natikoa.
Just on the, let me find what it's actually called. The Finley War Memorial Pool Committee. I just need to be removed off as a committee member. I did advise them when I became a councillor that I'd be removing myself as a committee member, but would remain as their Shire representative. So.
And one more comment on the Finley War Memorial Pool Committee. The Vice President is Matt Mueller, not Muller.
Okay, we have
It's just-
spelling error.
Yeah.
Yep.
Can we correct that? Yep.
So M-U-E-L-L-E-R.
Right. Anything else?
No, that was it.
Okay, all in favour?
Yep.
Against, carried, thank you. 8.18, we have the Tokemore Preschool Reserve. The recommendation is that council, with regards to Crown Reserve 90909, Tokemore Preschool Reserve, 1, submit a written request to Crown Lands New South Wales to resign its role as land manager, and 2, assist Tokemore Preschool Kindergarten Association Inc. with a simultaneous written request for appointment as land manager. Do we have a mover? Councillor Stringer, a seconder? Councillor Payne, I got it right this time. Any questions or comments? I think it's a good initiative.
Yeah.
Yep. All right, all in favour?
Yep.
Thank you, carried. And we need,
Do we need to put our mics back on?
yes, your mic should be on.
Because everybody's mics, well, not everybody's mics, but most were off.
8.19, we don't have an 8.19 today.
Oh, that's your late report that
And
was sent through.
You can deal with 8.19 now if you, on,
no, 8.19 is
Yeah.
On
not.
your late reports, yeah.
The numbering here is out. Anyway, 8.20. We've got finance accounts of September. The recommendation is that Council A receive the financial statement, bank reconciliation certificate and petty cash book made up to 30th September 2024, and B, confirm the accounts paid as per warrant number 09-24 totalling $14,407,205.30, and note the report on investments attached. Do we have a mover? Councillor Natikoa, a seconder. Councillor Brooker, any questions or comments?
It's a lot of money.
A lot of money.
You'll get used to seeing those sorts of numbers.
All right, all in favour? Excellent, thank you, carried. 8.21, have we gone offline?
Just off the Teams meeting.
Okay. Finance accounts, the recommendation is that council receive the financial statement, bank reconciliation certificate and petty cash book made up to 31 August 2024 and confirm the accounts paid as per warrant number 08-24 totalling $3,242,036.24 and note the report on investments attached. Do we have a mover for that one? Councillor Brooker, seconder. Yep. Councillor Natikoa, any questions or comments?
Not as much money.
Indeed. All right. All in favour?
Yep.
Thank you, carried. 8.22 is a late covering report. I note we have had the attendance of the auditors prior to today's meeting. The recommendation of the report is that council, having satisfied itself in relation to the preparation of its financial reports and special schedules, A, refer its final statements to the auditors for the audit report. B, subject to receipt of the audit report at its meeting on Wednesday 16 October, we present our audited financial reports and audit reports to the public. and that the council's intention be publicly notified. We sign the attached general purpose financial report statement by council and management, special purpose financial report statement by council and management, two of them there, and D, adopt the valuation of assets prepared in accordance with recognised valuation procedures as a fair and reasonable value of these assets. Do we have a mover? Councillor Natikoa, seconder. Councillor Brooker, any questions or comments? No, okay, all in favour?
Yep.
Thank you, carried. Go back on track with our agenda. 8.23, we have tender 01-24-25 annual plant hire rates for 24-25. The recommendation is that council, 1, accept all compliant tenders for the 24-25 financial year for T01-24-25 annual plant hire rates, and 2, authorise its seal to be affixed to the relevant contracts to the presence of 2 signatories authorised to affix the seal pursuant to Reg 400 of the Local Government General Regulation 2021. Do we have a mover? Councillor Hannon, seconder. Councillor Healy. Any questions or comments?
Just around the conflict of interest, is that a business conflict or a personal conflict, or?
It's a personal conflict of interest. I've just given some direction yesterday about how to deal with that particular conflict. So that would come back later on. They will reassess independently. Yep.
I've got 2 questions. Do we have an evaluation report?
Sorry, Gary.
Director of Infrastructure?
Director of Mr. Gary, well, I'm just trying to track that report down. The staff member that's got that report is on sick leave all this week. So, yeah.
Okay.
Just if I could, through you, Mayor and CEO, this tender, they're not competitive tenders in so much as we're ranking and picking preferred ones. They tender for the works, and the report is determining whether they comply with council's requirements. Yep, there still is a report that needs to be done, but it's not a competitive tender where we're selecting preferred candidates.
But you are evaluating whether they're compliant or not.
That's correct. That's the evaluation.
So it's a pass-fail.
That's correct.
Yes.
Yep. And does the evaluation panel complete conflict of interest declarations?
That's the.
Sorry, that was what we picked up when we were doing some investigations, and they had not done that prior to. So that's why I've gone back to and removed that particular one from the assessment.
So is that one that came to your attention because they subsequently filled in the forms, or because you knew about it?
Because I knew about it.
So can we get them to fill in some forms?
Yeah, they have.
They have now?
They have now.
And that's the only conflict?
Yes.
Okay. Any other comments?
Sorry.
Yep.
So this plant hire rates, they're just rates. So when the plant we don't have available in our work, and it depends on location or whatever, we evaluate the rates for that year and their cartage. So it just depends on what job, and we still look at what contractor we use with these rates.
It's like a preferred supplier list.
So it's a panel sort of thing, and you do quotes from how many suppliers for each job?
So this is not, that's to take that procurement process out.
Yeah.
So they give us rates for the year if we want to use that plant for that
Okay.
construction job.
Yep.
So, and we evaluate that on location where the project is.
Okay. All right. Any other questions or comments?
Nope.
I would like to see the evaluation report next time, but for the time being, seeing though it's a pass-fail. All in favour? Yep. Against? All right, carried. Thank you. 824, we've got Barooga Raw Water Intake Remediation Works. The recommendation is that council, in relation to the Barooga Raw Water Intake, 1, award the quotation submitted by Soil Conservation Services for the remediation of the riverbank at the Barooga WTP Raw Water Intake for the contract value of $356,457 ex-GST, subject to the CEO reviewing the scope and negotiation with the preferred supplier if any changes are required. 2, authorise its seal to be affixed to all documents relating to this contract in the presence of 2 signatories authorised to affix the seal pursuant to Regulation 400 of the Local Government General Regulation 2021. And 3, appoint Michael Eddy as a contract authorised person. 4, authorise the authorised person to approve variations on the contract up to a maximum value of 10% of the contract sum. And I note this is an exemption from the procurement process. Do we have a mover? Councillor Natikoa, seconder. Councillor Hannan, any questions or comments?
Michael Eddy, is he a Shire?
He's a consultant
Employee?
through Curry PM that we've been using
Okay.
for the DRFA stuff, and
Yep.
we just use him as a project manager on some occasions
Okay.
while he's here.
Yeah, I'd seen his name come up twice. I'm like, is he
Yeah.
a Shire person or is he with Curry? Yep.
I did mention earlier in the agenda that exemption should occur prior to quotes coming in.
Yes.
From a governance perspective, but I do understand this is a government agency, so it's not the worst offending situation. Any other questions or comments? No? All in favour? Against, carried, thank you. 8:25. Country University Centre Southern Riverina update. This is a report to receive and note. Do we have a mover?
Yep.
Councillor Natikoa, seconder. Councillor Healy, would you like to?
So the application will go in this evening. We have now achieved pledges of just over $300,000. I'm quite excited. It means that we will be able to ask, because the government has $16 million for 10 sites across Australia. We would be offering 2 for the price of 1. So I think we've got a really strong case, and I really have got everything crossed.
So the 1.7 million, I think that they had allocated, so that's going to cover Denny and the Finley
Yes.
site.
Both sides, yep.
And then would we be asking for less grant money because of the pledges, or are the pledges on top of?
The pledges are on top of that
Okay.
particular money. That means that we can afford the entire project.
Yep.
Any other questions or comments? Well done on that. All in favour? Against, thank you, carried. Do we have item 9, notice of motions or questions with notice? We don't have any.
Karina,
Oh,
you want
sorry.
to talk about?
Oh, yes, sorry, through you, Mayor, if Andrew would like to just bring up a matter.
So the agenda you're utilising versus the agenda that's online is slightly different.
Right.
8.17
Right,
is actually a planning proposal
okay.
to in effect rezone land here in Berrigan.
I'm missing that.
Yeah,
Where,
it is online, but
it's not what I've got.
Not,
correct.
Okay. Where is that agenda item? I don't have it.
It's on council's website.
it's on the council website apparently, so.
So I need to get on the council website.
No, we will do it on the screen.
Okay, thank you.
It must not have pulled through when we run the original.
On supplies.
Because, yeah, 8.17 was the 355 committees.
Yeah,
Our agenda management software is,
Better than it used to be?
like you see here,
But
we've got
quite old.
821 missing. Anyway, all right, we've got a planning proposal. I haven't read this. Have any of the other councillors seen it?
No.
I don't think we can make a decision when we haven't had the opportunity to read it. What's the timing imperative on this?
Critical on the basis we hadn't had council meetings. We're actually outside of our statutory timeframe for dealing with the planning proposal.
We could bring it to us extraordinary.
Could bring-
Could we do it as an extraordinary on the Wednesday, the 5th of November?
you could do it as an evening extraordinary online if you chose,
In the next couple of days, even if you like.
3 days' notice.
Okay.
Saturday night.
Oh, well, it would be
Oh, sorry.
Monday.
So we do it at,
Monday or Tuesday.
That's what I'll need as a resolution.
oh no,
Yeah.
just bear with me. so people have the opportunity to check. 9 o'clock on Monday the 21st via Microsoft Teams, is that?
In the morning,
You could do it at 4
Morning,
o'clock in the
yeah.
evening if you chose,
doesn't matter, any time that's
any
suitable.
time that suits you.
How do people feel about 9 o'clock? It'll take all of
That's fine.
10 minutes. Yep,
Yep, I can do that.
so we need someone to move that.
Yes, please.
Councillor Payne, seconded
moving.
Councillor Natikoa.
So, through you, Mayor, I think you're moving that council holds an extraordinary meeting at 9 a.m. via MS Teams to discuss the title of the decision. Please, DSPD.
Planning proposal PP 2023.
Yeah.
2603, which is 92 Struffvale Road, Berrigan.
Thank you, all in favour?
I apologise for that.
Those uploaded into the Teams channel or
Yes.
via email?
They'll be there this afternoon.
Thank you.
Sweet.
And a meeting invite will go out?
Yes.
And it'll be on the website, all of that.
Okay, we don't have any notice of motion questions without notice. All right, can I get someone to move us to go into closed council, please? Councillor Payne, seconder Councillor Hannan. So we're back? Okay, thank you. So while we were in closed council, determined that we should award the tender submitted by S&R Engineering and Construction Proprietary Limited for contract T13 2324 Baruga WTB Sludge Lagoons for the contract value of $576,188.91 ex-GST, subject to the CEO reviewing the scope and negotiation with the preferred supplier if any changes are required. Authorise Excel to be affixed to all documents relating to this contract in the presence of two signatories. Authorised to affix Excel pursuant to Regulation 400 of the Local Government General Regulation 2021. Appoint Michael Eddy as a contract authorised person and authorise the authorised person to approve variations on the contract up to a maximum value of 10% of the contract sum.
I like your note there, Keelan.
All right. Do we have any motions or questions without notice? I'll go around the room. Councillor Payne?
Probably aimed at Gary. Just in relation to the Berrigan tank paddock, there was, back when we had floods, the big floods in Berrigan, the plan of the dam had originally changed and the way the water had flowed, was flowing during the flooding, it became quite a backup of water. Is there been any, I have to leave that one with you, I think, because
No, so council, there's currently a project that council has got money for to assess that area, and we're looking to do a design around that going forward. So once we do that, we'll come back to council around that, so yes.
fantastic. That's
Councillor
Thank
Payne
you.
goes, thank you.
Councillor Natakawa, any from you?
I have the TAFE sign from Finley that was outside the Tupple pub. It's got a broken bracket on it. So I have that in my car. I'm not sure who I need to give it to, just to get that obviously bracket redone and replaced at the Tupple in Finley.
Yep. Anything else?
That was all I
Councillor
had.
Hannan? No. Councillor Stringer? No. Councillor Healy?
I do have a question, following up for somebody around, there was a sign for the car park where the new toilets went behind the main street in Finley for the G.A. Edwards car park, and they were wondering when that sign was going to be replaced or put back up.
Yes, I have had that question before, so I will follow that up. For some of these, if you put them into an email to me, and then I will give you a councillor request number, and then we will report at the council meetings how your requests are going. That's our plan going forward. So from next meeting, you'll see where councillor requests are coming through.
Councillor Brooker?
No, I'm good, thanks.
All right. Councillor reports, so we'll move to 12.1, the Mayor's report. So, on the 20th September, Councillor Stringer and I met with the Foreshore Committee exec. I thought that was quite a productive meeting, and they're moving forward. 24th of September, CEO and I met with Murrumbidgee Local Health District. They are listening to us now a bit more, which is
They are, and they're kind of every now and then remembering Baruga.
occasionally. But anyway, but they were enthusiastic about the dialysis thing we were proposing. They've started building the accommodation, and they're going to tender on the construction works at the hospital before the end of the year. So that's good. And they'll be bringing a report to us, I think, in November.
Possibly,
December,
yeah.
we're not sure. On the 26th of September, we had the public meeting with New South Wales Ambulance in Tocumwal. I've got a debrief online with the ambulance next week. 2nd of October, we had a workshop. Then we Councillor Payne and I visited the men's shed about their concerns with parking in Berrigan. That was a good meeting. They liked getting a visitor. And we also went to the childcare centre in Berrigan. On the 2nd of October, we had the Baruga Rec Reserve AGM. 3rd of October, I had a brief debrief with some of the Tocumwal Ambulance committee members. 4th of October, I caught up with the CEO. 8th of October, we had the Baruga Advancement Group AGM. 9th of October, we discussed the agenda. And we had a candidate session. And hopefully we'll get some candidates. Nominations are open, please encourage people. And Councillor Stringer and I attended the Tocumwal Rotary meeting. And 14th of October, I've written here Tocumwal public meeting, but it wasn't a public meeting, it was Tocumwal public school meeting.
Yeah.
And we visited them about the issue of the student support officer, and we're looking at doing some further work. We've written to the minister, trying to get in front of the minister, because that is the only support officer in the Shire.
And they're about to lose.
And they're about to lose. There's a bit of a story, we might bring that to the November
So,
meeting.
sorry, is that an Indigenous support officer, is it? Student support or?
Student
It's a
support.
student support officer. There's apparently 29 student support officers in public schools in the state, and but there is one in every high school. And what they've found, they had got this particular one because of flood funding. It was a temporary arrangement in any event, but they found it very useful catching the kids who needed that and families who needed assistance earlier, and it allowed the educators to educate and the support officers to support the families and the children. It sounded,
Yeah, so it's for primary school children.
Like a TA, like a teacher's assistant, or is it more a
Counsellor.
counsellor? Okay.
not a counsellor
No.
though.
But yeah, but
More in
More
Like
that
a
realm.
connected to
counselling.
community organisations, so they refer families, support them access supports within the community already, meet with families, sort of like an in-between.
We're quite lucky because the person they had some trauma counselling or trauma response training, which was apparently needed.
So I've now received 2 letters from parents and from the school, and we've written to the minister, and we'll see what happens with that. And that's all from me. Can I get someone to move my report, please? Councillor Natikoa, second Councillor Payne. All in favour? Yep, carried. All right.
I'll
Am I
steal that.
missing something?
No, I'll
Okay.
steal that so I can give it to.
Oh, yeah, that's fine. Verbal reports from delegates, so we'll go around the opposite way. Councillor Brooker, do you have anything to report? No. Any meetings, anything? No? Councillor Healy?
Yes, on October 9th, I attended the opening of the Berrigan tennis courts, the new courts, and they had a presentation for life membership as well to the former councillor Reynoldson at the same event. But they were very grateful for the support that the council gave with replacing of the courts.
Excellent. Councillor Stringer?
I didn't go anywhere except with you, so you've already
Already
covered you and I, so.
Thank you. Councillor Hannan?
Just attended the staff breakfast, was it? That's it, yep,
That's
very
it.
good. And also the Tocumwal ambulance meeting, and just noting out of that meeting, from my point of view, that obviously New South Wales Ambulance are non-committal about an ambulance being in Tocumwal for the not too distant future. I would like to understand that there's a list of however many, and supposedly we're on that list, but how long does it take them to work through that list? Because it doesn't, I don't see them standing them up in under 2 years when they do stand them up, understanding that the cert may even take that long to stand up. So that's concerning. And probably a question to you, Mayor, have we had any interim interest in any volunteers wanting to be a part of the cert going forward?
Firstly, we're about 20th on the list. How long that will take, yeah, I mean, it's not going to be 2 years, I know that, but we're not going to stop. We'll keep arguing and cage-rattling. They haven't, as I understand it, there are some people who are interested. I really don't have a good handle, and I think we've missed a big group of the community being people, under 50. They weren't at that meeting, probably wouldn't want to go to a public meeting, so we need to try and work out if we can get the message out there broader to assess if there are volunteers, because it's a go, no go, isn't it, if we don't have volunteers?
Because I noticed that, I don't know if it was in the paper, it was on the socials, that Finley Fire Brigade have got 3 or 4 new female fireys. So there obviously are people out there that are willing to volunteer, so to speak. where we may well, and where I see that the CERT model against the first responders model is that there's going to be a disparity there for a start. You're a first responder, you get remunerated for turning up. I'm a CERT person, I turn up, I've got all the bells and whistles, but I get no remuneration for doing it. So whilst that's a fair solution for them to put up for us, I'm not quite sure that our community would understand that solution.
No, and I agree with you. And part of the feedback I'm planning to give is that Fire and Rescue New South Wales and New South Wales Ambulance need to work this out together. They assured us they had, and they have not.
No.
And there needs to be some way that we don't have this disparity and that we don't miss out because of their dysfunction.
So just before you have a go there, Councillor Stringer, just in light of the comment I made around Finley being able to recruit 3 or 4 fireys, should we look at trying to change tack and trying to strengthen the support around the fire brigade? Because there is a lot of casual vacancies at the Lackamore Fire Brigade. They probably run at about 50%, would that be correct?
They got 8 active, 1 training, and 2 that are trying to get in. So that would give them 11.
Yeah, but how many do they can have up to 16, can't they?
Yes.
Yeah, so maybe strengthening, I'm just throwing an idea there because to stand up something totally new when we already understand that there would be a little bit of tension there.
They did run a thing earlier in the year, the fire brigade. They had fireys come in from out of town and set up outside the supermarket and try and entice people to join. I said they got 2 people out of that.
Yeah, well that's
which helped.
20%, nearly, isn't it?
We have 2 fire brigades, and they work independent of each other. I think they need to stop locking horns and
yeah, I mean that does operate in our communities, 2 fire brigades.
Yeah.
I think they service. They're 2 different service models as well, which say volunteers happy to volunteer in the Royal Fire Service.
I went to that meeting not as a councillor. I left my council badge at home and I went as the president of the TCDC. And what I got out of it is, if we accept a CERT, we'll never get an ambulance. Yeah, and we're not in the top 20 to get an ambulance. I got that out of. I just kept. Well, you were there. I kept talking and pushing until I got the answer I wanted to hear, and that was that we're not even in the top 20 to get an ambulance. So.
I think that differs to the information that we've actually got through the GIPA, which says that we're in approximately the top 20. So if that's what you heard, that's not what I've seen written, but I mean, that doesn't matter. I don't understand why the Fire and Rescue New South Wales can't have the CERT car. Why can't they just give it to that group? So these are the, I think.
And upskill their training.
Upskill the first responders.
Yeah, we're getting caught in something that's not of our making, is my view. So, but
I've had the first responders to my house for myself.
Yeah.
And they were great.
Yeah.
They were great.
Yeah, so, no doubt.
And what I got out of it was when they had their slideshow over on the right-hand side, it had a great list of different towns where they had a CERT.
No, it wasn't a CERT.
But they don't have a CERT team now.
No, it's a community first responder. It wasn't CERT. But
No,
they don't.
They were certs because I asked her about it. Remember, I said, "Are these
not right.
failed ones?" And she said, "No, they're not failed. They're just
They're inactive.
people have left town and so they're closed down while we get more people and everything else." Well, that's a fail.
Councillor Hannon, anything else? Councillor Nadakoa.
Just attendance of that Tokemore ambulance meeting. And I agree with you, Mayor Julia, that there was a huge demographic that was missing out of that whole discussion. But it's certainly something that, coming away from that, I thought that CERT model would actually be beneficial in all 4 of our shire towns to help alleviate that need and probably had, I'm not interested in being a fiery, but being a CERT is something that I feel I could do. So I understand the differentiation between the 2, but I also understand being able to upskill the people already doing it so that it covers both kind of thing. But yeah, I would see that it being something that would be beneficial in all of our towns. So if it was to be rolled out kind of that'd be something that I would be interested in pursuing. But that's all.
Councillor Payne? No? All right, well, get someone to move those reports. Councillor Brooker? Councillor Natikoa? All in favour? Thank you. Carried. And one last thing before we conclude the meeting, I'd like to wish our CEO a happy birthday for tomorrow.
Oh, go away.
You thought you got away with it.
I thought I'd snuck that through.
We won't sing. No, I'm sure the public at home don't want to hear that either. So we'll conclude our meeting today at 11:06 a.m. The next ordinary council meeting will be held on Wednesday, 20th of November from 9 a.m. in the council chambers. There being no further business, we will close the meeting 11:07.